Professional Development in Instructional Design by Sherry J. Mack. Presentation to peers, PowerPoint agenda. It is very important that educators make the time to continue learning. You cannot grow if you yourself do not take the time to upgrade your skills. The quality of your teaching will be affected. Agenda Part 1. The purpose of this presentation is to share with my peers, based on the concept of instructional design, 2 professional development modules. I have chosen developing valid assessments and mapping learning activities to outcomes. What is assessment? Assessment is the process of determining whether instructional objectives have been met. It is an essential component of instructional design. My references are taken from Finch 2013, Creating Significant Learning Experiences, Nielsen and Goodson, Online Teaching at Its Best, Lane and Raymond, Handbook of Test Development, and Vi and Sosolsky, Essentials of Online Course. Teachers need to know the tools available to create an online assessment so that students are receiving quick feedback, tracking progress, and improving performance. Teachers also need to know the resources available for their use. Assessments should be designed at the very beginning before you develop your instructional materials. This will allow you to focus on your analysis of your basic course design. Follow these requirements based on course design standards. Derive assessments directly from your learning outcomes. Administer short assessments of different types periodically throughout the course to help students assess their overall progress. Explain to students how completing assignments and assessments help them achieve the learning outcomes. Assessments should measure the student performance they claim to measure. If you want to determine how well your students are able to list key concepts, then that must be a stated objective. If you want to determine how well your students are able to analyze a case, then that must be a stated objective. Cheating must be addressed in online courses just as in the classroom. Cheating is less likely to occur under the following conditions. Assessments align with learning outcomes. The class and campus create a climate of academic integrity. Students receive frequent short assessments. There are many different types of assessments. You have multiple choice answers / true false items. You have short answer / recall items. Both of these types can be time consuming because only you can grade them instead of the computer. You have stimulus-based items. These consist of tables, graphs, diagrams, flowcharts. Give students a lot of practice beforehand. Be creative in choosing stimuli and use different kinds. Reducing cheating. Giving more than one robust test that is timed or no backtracking allowed will test students' knowledge of the materials. There will be no time to Google answers or ask for help with a timer counting down. Some professors will hold students accountable by letting them know that once you hit submit, you are agreeing to be bound by the University Code of Conduct. You are also admitting that the work is your own. If found to be cheating, you should already know the consequences since it is part of the requirements to be met the first week of class. Self-assessments and reflections. According to the U.S. Department of Education 2010, these type of assessments enhance the performance of online students, usually without generating a heavy grading workload. Students can assess their learning online readiness through readiness or knowledge surveys, flashcards, practice quizzes. You can place reflection prompts in discussion forums, blogs, chats, or short paper assignments for students to respond to. Examples include, what did you find to be your muddiest point in the week's lesson? What are you doing to learn the material? At the end of the term, what did you learn? Group work. should present a greater degree of challenge than an individual assignment. Students have to need each other to come to defensible conclusions or develop and assess alternative solutions. You, as the teacher, must assign roles to encourage mutual need among group members. Alternative is to set up a jigsaw where each member must research one topic and then return to teach it to the other group members. Grading group work. At the end of the assignment, the group must generate and report their findings as a result of their research, reflections, or analysis. Group project tools may include entries for file exchanges, website building software, discussion forums, emails, and chats. Grade group assignments with a rubric, but first decide how to determine individual grades from the group product code. Teamwork will be more successful when you include individual accountability. A research paper could be submitted to both the instructor and each group member. Each student could be asked to reflect on the process of completing their designated portion of the group work. Follow these guidelines. Students value these behaviors the most in teammates: contributing to the group's work, communicating with the group by doing their share of the assignment, putting time in to help generate a high quality assignment, making every effort to solve group problems and resolve conflicts. Proctored assessments are scheduled exams monitored by a person called a proctor. This can be in person at the university or online through the student's computer at the student's location. If your department or program requires proctored assessments, provide students with directions on the procedures, locations, any cost, and any advance arrangements needed. My last module, mapping learning activities to outcomes. All learning activities should be organized around your course outcomes and based on what you teach, how you teach, and what you choose to assess. Follow the same rule for assessment. If you want students to do something, start with a practice activity, starting with a simple task, then progressing to a harder level. Follow the roadmap for the online course design standard to make sure that course materials are relevant and accurate, comprehensible and free of erroneous content, organized and in logical and meaningful chunks. Learning activities require action, so use action verbs such as read, study, listen, reflect, describe, analyze, just to name a few. Classroom faculty have several sources to turn to for guidance in deciding the learning activities, and you can integrate most of these activities into online courses in digital, audio, or video formats. Jacobs 2014, Simonson et al. 2015, Vine Sosolsky 2016. Examples include short lectures and student self-assessment, written reflections and quizzes, games and debates, discussions and demonstrations, presentation by guest speakers and expert panels. A few more, case studies and their analysis, role plays, surveys for fun, reflection, or self-assessment, student peer feedback and review, individual and group projects and presentations. In classes where many adults have enrolled, you can also draw out students' own experiences and knowledge by using discussion board forums, chats, blogs, and group work. This population will be happy to share their life experiences. When deciding on learning activities for your course, consider giving students practice not only performing your learning outcomes, but also activities based on your discipline area. If your field requires interpreting data, your activities should include practicing types of data, implementing methods of analysis, and interpreting sample data sets. If it involves analysis of text and documents, so should your learning activities. If it entails mathematical problem solving, provide students with process, which is step-by-step worksheets. worked or partially completed examples to reduce their cognitive load and scaffold learning. Recall the online course design standard to use best practices in the discipline and online instructional design. According to Fink 2013, your choice of activities should also tie into your decisions about significant learning, nursing, cultural issues, and childbearing. Students view films and read books to explore the ethical and cultural issues of childbearing for women and their families, as well as for the nurses themselves. Another topic, different perspectives in the environment. Students keep journals on their personal experiences with nature while reading varied and often conflicting views on the relationship between people and their environments. Lastly, according to Vi and Sosolsky 2016, consider the time required for your activities in conjunction with your course's class time expectations, such as contact time of 3 hours per week for a 3 credit course. Giving students choices of activities and assignments can increase their learning and motivation. Conclusion. The purpose of this presentation was to share with my peers, based on the concept of instructional design, 2 professional development modules. The following modules were covered: developing valid assessments and mapping learning activities to outcomes. My presentation ends with this conclusion, a scripture, and references. And this I pray, that your love may abound still more and more in knowledge and all discernment, that you may approve the things that are excellent, that you may be sincere and without offense till the day of Christ. Philippians 1st chapter 9 through 10th verse. This has been Sherry Mack. Thank you.